Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Young Refugees Community Practice launch. My name is Rebecca Singbiel, and I'm the Communications Manager at the CycSee Network, or the Children and Youth in Challenging Contexts Network. I'm joined today by Lisa Lachance, our Executive Director at the CycSee Network, by Maria Vingra of CLIP, and Vinosala Yoganathan. We're going to just do a bit of an introduction to the community of practice, give you a bit of an introduction as well to the CycSee Network in case you're not familiar with us, and then just kind of open up a discussion as to what this community of practice might look like, and to provide some opportunity for you folks to engage with that as well. Maria will be passing out a link to a brief survey that we asked that everyone would participate in to give us some feedback on what you would like this community of practice to look like. And I guess I will also just give some technical information. If you do want to ask a question, you can use the Q&A app on the Google Hangout interface. It should be behind the Rubik's Cube or the little square on the top right corner of your screen. If you click on that, you can select either the Showcase option or the Q&A option. And that will give you an opportunity to submit your own questions using the app, which we will have a question and answer period at the end of the Google Hangout to respond to those. Or if you're more comfortable, you can also submit your questions using Twitter. And you can do that on Twitter using the hashtag CycCCOP. Again, that's CycCCOP. So those are some ways you can ask questions. Of course, you can also send them directly to us during or after the conversation by email at cycc@dal.ca. And again, we'll be handing out a link to a survey where you can give some more detailed feedback on the COP. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Lisa Lachance now.
Great. Thanks so much, Rebecca. So again, my name is Lisa, and I'm the Executive Director of the CycSee Network. And I thought it would be useful just to give a really brief couple of minutes overview of the network, and that will sort of help explain our path to this particular project. So as Rebecca said, we're the Children and Youth in Challenging Contexts Network, and we were funded starting in 2012 to be a knowledge mobilization network that looked at what supports the mental health and well-being of the most vulnerable young people. And so we've grown as a cross-sectoral and interdisciplinary network. That means that we have researchers, community service providers, healthcare professionals, educators, young people themselves, from a range of backgrounds and disciplines, who've all joined our network to learn more about what works for vulnerable young people, so to look at promising practices. And we now have close to 250 network members. And we, as a network, knowledge mobilization, often people think about the sort of more traditional academic sense in terms of moving research into practice, and certainly that's really important. That's something that we want to look at different ways of making that connection quicker from when research information is available to providing it to practitioners. We also want to look at what's happening in organizations across Canada and around the world in terms of the practice evidence, because we also know that people are doing pretty amazing programs with young people that are having good results. And we also want to look at sort of promising local practices and profile those. And so since 2012, we have done a number of different projects to live out that vision and that mandate. We've published a series of knowledge synthesis reports and summaries and policy checklists. You can find those on our website. We've hosted a series of events across Canada called Wisdom to Action, and Vinosala is going to give you a bit more background on one that we actually hosted looking at providing services to young refugees. We've supported projects with partners to try their own sort of knowledge mobilization projects out, so profiling their own promising practices. And we're at the beginning of sort of our next sort of life cycle, and we were just recently renewed by the federal government, which is our core funder, for another 3 years. And so we've taken kind of what we've learned over the first few years about how to work in the youth serving sector, what members have told us works best in terms of how they want to learn about promising practices. And we're doing a few new exciting projects. So one of them is that we have regional hubs now, including CLIP, which is based in Montreal, and you'll hear more about them from Marie-Ève. And the Kajalia Health Research Centre in Iqaluit, and the Ontario Centre of Excellence for Child and Youth Mental Health in Ottawa. And together, all of these organizations have been doing this type of work, developing tools for the youth serving sector. So we're building a national online toolkit. We're going to be offering mentoring to organizations who look at a piece of that toolkit and think, I do want an evaluation plan, or I do want to do youth engagement better in our organization. We're going to be providing support to those organizations. And we also wanted to look at communities of practice and see how they could support the work of our members. And so that sort of brings us to today. As well, through our knowledge sharing events, Wisdom to Action, and other projects, we also want to be able to respond to emergent issues or issues of concern for our network members. And certainly earlier this year, we were hearing a lot around concern and recognition that people want to know more about what works in supporting young refugees and vulnerable migrants. And so that's sort of how we came to looking at this work on young refugees. So that's a little bit of background about the CycSee Network. You can check us out online. And certainly, as Rebecca said, any questions about this community practice or the network in general, you can find us at cycc@dal.ca. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Manisla to talk a little bit about our Wisdom to Action event on providing services to young refugees that happened this past March. There you go.
So I'm Vinosla. So I'm a recent master's graduate, and my master's research was focused on newcomer and refugee youth. And as Lisa said, I've been involved with a couple of these Wisdom to Action events. So just to give a little background on that, so the Wisdom to Action event, Young Refugees one, which we had in last March, was a way to bring together a diverse mix of individuals to one location and have these face-to-face conversations about various topics relevant to young refugees. So in this event, we had youth and adults of various backgrounds from communities across Canada come together to share and learn from each other's personal and professional experiences working with children and youth at risk. So we had academics, practitioners, educators, and others from various sectors, including the government, nonprofit, healthcare, social services, and education. So the conversations at this meeting brought out many insights and experiences, particularly highlighting what works, what challenges and barriers exist, and how individuals or groups deal with these issues within the context of their own work, as well as the broader context of working with children and youth at risk. So it was an opportunity to share best practices and local knowledge and to build this network or a community of sharing. So the event was organized and hosted using the Art of Hosting method, so which created an open and inclusive space where participants could ask questions, connect with each other, and seek out resources and support from those who were present at this event. So the Wisdom to Action Young Refugees event was a place for rich and valuable dialogue among participants. So participants were able to direct the agenda of the event as well as the conversations they wanted to hold. So at this particular event in last March, some of the conversations that were brought forward by these participants were the role of school in mental health and youth resiliency, how to get feedback to policymakers, methods for engaging refugees and families, how to translate research into action, and especially the need for a community of practice. So at the end of the day, the lingering question was, okay, we've had this event, so what is the next step after this? So they acknowledged that this conversation needs to be continued and we need to come together to build upon these conversations that we've had. So hence we're here having this launch. So I'm going to pass it on to Marie-Ève to talk a little bit more about the community of practice now.
Well, hi, thanks, Manisla. I'm Marie-Ève. I work at Le Clip in Montreal. It's a knowledge transfer organization, and we work in psychosocial domains. I've been asked to present you a little bit about the communities of practice. Well, in order to form a community of practice, you have to ask yourselves a few questions so you all be working on the same basis. To do so, eventually, well, after this conversation, a survey will be sent to you, but it also, it's right now available if you go on the showcase section. Just on the left of your screen, there is a yellow stickers that you can click on, and you're going to see like a link to the survey, but you don't have to go there right now, but so you know it's there. Since we're not quite sure yet what form will the group or the community will take, the presentation is more about community of learning because the basic principles of communities of practice may be too stiff for the community that you might or are hoping to form. So we'll be working with statements that are more maybe flexible. I'm going to share my screen right now. Maybe Manisola or Rebecca, you can tell me if it works, just so you can see the little presentation that I worked on. Is it working? Do you see a Prezi? Yes? Good. Okay, good. Okay. Let me start the thing. There you go. So when you want to, well, like I said, I call the presentation a community of learning because we don't know yet if it's going to be a community of practice or if it's going to be something else. We will know more after you answer the survey. So we're going to talk more about a community of learning. So first, on the survey, you will have to ask yourself, what do you want to talk with others? It can be, yes, subjects about refugees, but it can be also a place that you're going to share practices, situation, interests, vision, context, issues, or politics. Actually, you are the ones that will decide what's going to be on the menu when you're going to do the community of practice. But from now on, you already have to know what interests you the most and what do you want to share with others, because you might not have all the same practices and you might not be in all the same situations, and maybe you want to share about realities that you have in your organization, or maybe you want to talk about politics and maybe it's different from one to another. So think about what you want to talk about and what's important to you. What are you seeking in this community of practice? After that, you also have to ask yourselves, how do you want the community to work? Community is a place to share, but it's also sometimes quite a lot of work to organize and coordinate the whole thing. So you already have to know a little bit more about what will be the frequency of the meetings. Do you have in mind a certain calendar, like a meeting a month or a meeting half the year, or I don't know, will it be during your work time or after your work time? So these are all the questions that you have to ask yourselves. There's also a little bit of planning that you have to do. Like I said, you have to plan a little more about the subjects or the practices that you will want to talk about. You will have to know if you want to animate or only participate, or if you're only looking to find some information. These are different levels of participation that you have to state right now which one you're going to be in. You also have to ask yourself, what are you expecting? Is it like a concrete expectations, like tools, or it's more like you want to get to know more about different subjects? Do you want to learn new abilities? Are you looking for some new ideas that you could put on your organization? And what are your expectations in terms of time that you want to put in the community? Like I said, levels of engagement. Maybe you just want to listen to the discussions, but maybe you also want to do concrete work in the community, so you have to know that right now. So that's pretty much what you will have to answer in the survey that you see. The link is there, but it's also in the Google Hangout. And I think Rebecca will do the follow-up with you. So the survey will help us know more about what are your expectations, and to propose like a first form that it could take. So that's it for me.
Thanks, everyone. Great. So for anyone who's joining in a little bit later and didn't hear from the beginning, you do have the opportunity to submit questions now if you so wish. You can do so using the Q&A app, which is it should be in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You might need to click on a little Rubik's Cube looking icon, and it'll take you to the Q&A sidebar. You can submit a question there. Or if you're more comfortable, you can submit it over Twitter using the hashtag CycSeeCOP. We haven't had any questions come in so far, so we'll give you a couple minutes to ask any questions now if you like. Again, there will be an opportunity with the survey that we're sending out to kind of give your feedback, maybe ask some questions in that as well. Or you can email us directly at cycc@dal.ca if you have any questions or comments or want to get more engaged in the community of practice in other ways. So the link for the survey, as Mary Ev said, is under the Showcase button, which should also be right beside the Q&A button I described earlier under that Rubik's Cube at the top of your screen. If you click on that, you'll see a selection of links. There's a link there to the CycSee's website, which is CycSeeNetwork.org. There's also a link to our Wisdom to Action Young Refugees page, where you can learn more about the event that Manosla described. There's a report about the event available there, as well as videos, interviews that were taken with participants at the event. So lots of resources there. There's also a link to a kind of resource hub. We've been collecting links and resources and tools from our network members on work that they've done, resources, papers, tools that they've created to support your work with young refugees. So you can find it on our website as well under that Wisdom to Action Young Refugees page. And then lastly, you'll see the link to the survey, which we do encourage you to fill out if you are interested in participating in the community of practice, even if you don't think you want to participate, but do have some feedback on how you'd like this community practice or how you think it should kind of roll out. This really is an emerging process. We want it to be driven by you, your needs and your desires for the sort of information and support that you need to support your work with young refugees. Just take a check to see if there's any questions. All right, that looks to be about it for now. So if you do have any questions, again, send us them via email at cycc@dal.ca. I hope you enjoyed this brief Google Hangout on Young Refugees Community Practice. And we look forward to getting your feedback in that feedback survey. I'll also be adding a link to the feedback survey. Oh, we have a question. Megan, thank you. We have a question from Megan that asks, do we have an idea of how often we will meet? So we don't have an exact idea yet. That's some of the feedback and kind of input we're hoping to garner from those who are interested in participating. So it really is based on your availability, on the level of commitment you want to show the community of practice. So if you have an idea of what that can be, whether it's weekly, monthly, or more sparse than that, then please, you can submit that via the survey. So thanks very much for that, Megan. And I will be, as I was saying, adding those questions, or sorry, the survey link to our website as well, so you can find it there. Lisa, did you have something to add?
Well, I just thought I would hop in too and say that we also think that there's probably, and we want to hear from you, but am I back on now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, sorry. through the survey also we'll hear about sort of different modalities, different ways that we can connect. And I think that's probably why, as a network, we're really just kind of starting down the path of communities of practice, or that's why we might be actually more of a community of interest or community of learning, because if we have an online discussion forum, for instance, we have our web page, we have different ways of interacting, and then depending on what we hear back, also whether it's like Rebecca said, a monthly hangout, a weekly hangout, and also looking for outside resources to provide would be great. So that's part of what we're getting from the survey is your feedback.
Great. Okay, I'll just do one more sweep for questions. Minosla or Mary-Ev, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Myself, I'm good. Just keep in mind that the community will work with what you guys want to put forward. So it really comes from what the members will want and what are the subjects and the frequency. So that's why it's important to answer the survey so we can build a community that really fits your interests and your time and your availabilities and your motivations. So that's it.
Okay, I have another question from Megan. Thank you again. The question is, should we share the survey with others who are interested or work with young refugees? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Go ahead and share the survey. There also will be a recording of this Google Hangout. You can share this as well. And get other people who might be interested in participating involved and give them a little bit of background information on the community of practice. So by all means, go ahead, share this link, share the link to the survey. The more feedback we can get from people, the better. And feel free to talk with your networks about what you together want to see this community practice to look like. She also asked, is there a deadline to fill out the survey? Good question. I would say yes. I'm going to make that deadline right now, and it'll be this Friday. Actually, no. I'll move it to next Monday. Would be better for a deadline. So next Monday, if everyone could fill out that survey and get it back to us with their feedback, that would be great. But of course, this is kind of an ongoing immersive process. So if we get more input after that, that's fine too. But we will shoot for a deadline of next Monday. Okay. Any other questions? All right, that sounds good. Thank you so much again, everyone, for participating and for joining us today for our Google Hangout on Young Refugees Community Practice. We're really looking forward to hearing what your feedback is on the community practice, your input on how you work. And thank you to Lisa, Minosla, and Mary-Ev for hosting today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.